Ooh. Alright, welcome back to the channel. What we're going to do, we're going to put coil springs, shocks, struts, new front calipers on this nice 1981 Fairmont. It's going to be, I don't know, probably 3 or 4 part series because it is a little detailed in the front. But this is for all the guys that's not done this. There's all kinds of videos on there, but I thought I'd do it to this specific 4-cylinder Fairmont. It droops in the back, so hopefully putting all new springs will give it back to that level factory sit. And that's about it. So we're going to tear into this and... Alright, so we're going to do the back first. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a measurement from the floor to, I don't know, you can use the lip or the molding, whatever you want to use. I'm just going to use the bottom of the wheel well here, and it's right at about 23 and a half. So the only reason I'm measuring, you don't really have to measure it. The only reason I'm measuring is because I want to see how much sag is in the car, if any. I mean, there's some stuff in the trunk of this, so it might just be holding it down. I don't know. But the first thing you want to do is jack it up and get this wheel off. Okay, so once you get the wheel off, that'll let you see all that you're going to work on here. You got your coil spring, as you can see, is just rusty from sitting outside, and this is your shock. The only bolt you really need to take loose to do these springs is this one right back up in here. I don't know if you can see it. It's right where my finger's at. Right here. You're going to take this bolt out. You want to put this jack under it. You want to put a jack under it right here. So what you'll do is you'll lower that down. That spring will fall with your A-arm. You'll bring it out, pop it out, put your new one back in, jack that back up, put your bolt back in. And while you're doing that, your shock up here will actually hold the rear end enough that you can do that. You don't have to have 4 jack stands. You can have 4 jack stands if you want. That's not a big deal. But you do want to put your jack stands under the frame. I put mine up as high as I can just because I can't. It's inside. I don't have to worry about it. But if you're going to do this in a driveway or something and it's on any kind of an angle, I would make sure you chalk the tires. So I would spray that bolt down with something good, and then we'll get at it. All right, with a little fighting, I actually got the bolt loose that you need. You're going to take this nut off this side of the bolt on this side. Now you don't want to take the shock loose. If you take the shock loose, it drops the rear end. It won't go very far because the swing arms that are holding it up, but the shock will be your main support. Usually this bolt that runs through your lower control arm is a pain. I do not know why this one came apart so easy. A lot of them you had to put new bushings in the swing arm because they rust together. So you guys got lucky and saw one that actually comes apart. It's a bad thing about the rear ends in these Fox bodies. The Mustangs, Fairmonts, they all do it. But they make new, you can get a new bushing. Go to Harbor Freight, get one of the ball joint presses. They press in pretty easy. It's just a hassle is all it ends up to be. But that's that step. As you see, it just rolls right out. bushing, the rubber bushing off the top of it. Put it on your new one. You'll be able to kind of see where the old one was. So when you put it on the new one. I'm thinking you want to put it to where that. See, these springs are definitely taller. Yeah, those have sagged quite a bit. As you can see, when I went to push it down, the jack stopped it where it was way. Ooh, might still be hitting it. Just like that. Slide the jack back under it. Jack it right back up to the car under your rear end. Sometimes you have to wiggle it, maybe hit it with a hammer to get it back over under the rear end where it's supposed to be. Jack it back up. You have to move the rear end around a little bit to get it to fit back in there. The fun part's lining it back up. Because you do that, it goes down too far. Once you do a couple of these, you'll get good with messing with a jack with just your legs. Like that should be pretty close. If you can find it. There we go. You just kind of up and down the jack until it comes the rest of the way through. Hit it a little bit with your hammer. Slides right through. Put your nut bolt on, and that's put the rear spring in. All right. It's going to be hard to hear because I didn't turn my fan off, but on the shock down here at the bottom, you're just going to unscrew this nut and take it off. I think it's a P55 star bit is actually what it is. But when you get a kit from like the Monroe, it's going to come with this new bolt that has flat spots so you can grab it out here, and it'll come with a nut and a lock washer instead of Ford uses this little nut. It's not really a nut, but it does the job. So you can reuse the old ones, because the old ones are a little bit easier to get a hold of because they have that star bit in the end of them. And there's nothing wrong with these. They're not unsafe or anything, because all you're doing is keeping this against that. It doesn't have a lot of torque or pressure on it. Just, you can do it either way. Whatever you feel comfortable with. The new one, the old one, sometimes these will rust and wear. Now if they thin out, don't use the old one. But this one, it really looks pretty new on the inside. It came loose fairly easy, which I'm betting this car's been apart not too long ago, because I've never took a car apart this easy. But yeah, you just have to take this out, and then there is another bolt in the top, which I'll show you right now. So now back here in the trunk, right by the wheel well, as you can see, we'll have this little rubber cap on the top. You just spin it off. It's a 9/16 bolt. got a little flat spot. I'm not sure what size that is. I always just use vice grips on it, because vice grips always fit because you can adjust them. These aren't the best vice grips to work, but they work. So you really only need them just long enough to get it loose, which might be a couple turns, because they will get on there pretty tight after a while. Sometimes your vice grips don't hold. Sometimes they do. I guess it just came loose. Yeah, those are pretty tight. It'll eventually get to where you find it with your foot. You hold it up, take the pressure off of it, spin that off the top. You have your little rubber bushings. It falls right out. Then you just do the opposite to put it back in. Now if you are new to this, it's going to come with two bags. You have one bag that has your bottom bolt for under the car, and you'll have this other bag that comes with your bushings at the top. They're not hard, you know, once you take it apart you'll see it's not. You just put it back together exactly how you took it apart. But you will want to make sure that you do your washer bushing at the top, put that back up in the cart, and you want to put your bushing in your washer. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's not. Now what you will run into is when you get up there to the top, it's going to be tight to get that on sometimes. It's not hard, you just got to put some pressure on it from the bottom, it'll push it up in there. I extend the shock out, it's just easier because you can get your foot under it and hold it like you do when you take it out. But that's pretty much it for the rear end of it, putting coil springs and shocks, because the other side is just the exact same thing as this side. That's about it. Then we'll move on to the front. Alright guys, now we got a shower, clean change of clothes. We are done with the rear end. What I did was I did a set of coil springs, set of shocks, and it actually picked the car up to 25 inches, which originally was at 22 and a half. So it actually had 2.5 inches of sag in the back of this car. So that does go to show how much the factory springs after, I don't know, 40 years will sag and they just get tired like anything else. So now that we've got that done, we're going to move on to the front, and that's a little more entailed, but you know, we'll get through it. So that's I'll be back with that video. I'm trying to get these out. Just like everybody else, I have a job, so it's why these videos are so far apart, but I'm trying to do stuff that you can do on the weekend. So if this is the car you drive, or any car I'm working on, if that's the car you're driving it during the week, you can actually do it.